Okay guys, well today we've got a different project to tackle. It's not engines today or chainsaws or anything else. We're actually going to work on these Infinity RS5B speakers from the late 1980s to see if we can get them tuned back up and back working where they ought to be. The issue with this speaker, which is the issue with a lot of old speakers, it happens over time, is that they need to be refoamed. And so what do I mean by refoamed? There's, most of you I think will know this, but there's sort of a foam layer that goes around the speakers that over time, and just by over time, they deteriorate. It's not through abuse or hard use or being played loud or anything else. It's just purely age. It's as simple as that. The foam breaks down and it wears out. Now this particular speaker, the woofer on this one, it had been done a few years back, so we're not going to be doing that one. It's in perfect shape. And the tweeter, as you can see, it's a different style. It doesn't. This is an Emmet tweeter. For those of you that know Infinity speakers, you know that these are renowned to be amazing tweeters. But it does not have a foam surround. It's built entirely differently. But the mid-range here is our problem, and I am going to take the camera off the stand and show you just exactly what I mean. So let's get after it. Okay, guys. So here's the speaker, and as you can see, that woofer is in absolutely great shape. This was all professionally refoamed, and it's all looking really good. The mid-range, on the other hand, is a definite problem. As you can see, all of that foam has just deteriorated over time. So that's the project that we're going to do. We are going to go and take that old foam off. We're going to put some new foam on there, some new foam surrounds on there, and we're going to fix this thing up as good as new. And then at the very end, we are going to, well, of course, we're going to do it with both speakers, this just being one of them. But then at the very end, then we'll play them and make sure that they sound good. So let's continue on and see what happens. Okay, guys. Well, the very first step that we need to do here is we actually need to go and see how this thing is assembled into the case. And frankly, I don't know myself. We're gonna have to figure that out. But there are these Allen keys. So logically speaking, that's the first step. So let's take the lot to take these out. Okay guys, I don't know if this is the best tool for the job or not. I've got an old putty knife here, and I'm just going to try to pry this up a little bit gently and see if that will work for us. Oh, that might have done it. I think it's just age, just sitting there that long. Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's see. Let's see what we got here. Oh yeah, okay. There is our mid-range. Look at that. Okay, cool. Very interesting. Now I'm taking a look at this, and there's got to be some way of getting that ring off. I wonder if it's just this foam ring that needs to come off to get at this foam. Okay guys, well look, I've had a really close look at this, and this piece of foam does have to come off. There is no other way of doing this. I was kind of thinking maybe this would come off at the bottom, but no, it doesn't. So not a big deal, because you know what, we probably don't even actually need that foam back on there. It really doesn't do anything, although it will be holding the leading edge, I guess, or the outside edge of the foam surround down a little bit. So maybe that's its purpose, but we're going to try to just peel it off really carefully using an Olfa knife. The good news here is we don't have to worry about, accidentally getting the foam around the speaker here, because it's already messed up. So we're just going to be really careful and see if we can, unstick this. Even if we have to cut it in a few places, it won't matter too much. We can always just glue it down. But we'll we'll try to give this a college try and see if we can unstick this just the way it is. So, okay guys, we got ourselves a sharp blade on our knife now, and we're gonna give this another go. Yeah, I would say the key to this is having a super sharp knife. I'm using an Olfa knife here, and I forget what the name of these blades are, but you know, Olfa makes some different blades. I think it says on there, but they're the kind of super sharp ones anyways, whatever that is. I think probably any brand new uh, you know, Olfa blade or similar branded blade would probably be okay. But bottom line, you want this stuff to be sharp. Okay guys, well you can see that I've got most of that foam off, like pretty much, yeah, pretty much all of it. I used an X-Acto knife to get the you know, the foam that was off of here off, and then the last little bit of speaker foam that was on here, I used my fingernail and worked on that. So now what I'm working on doing is going and actually loosening up that last little bit of glue that's around the perimeter with a little bit of alcohol. So this is, yeah, I think it's 99% isopropyl alcohol that I'm using. And I did do a little checking online to make sure this is okay for these polypropylene speaker cones first, and sure enough it is just fine. So that's what we're doing. And you can see it's kind of loosening it up. So I'm going to use one side of the Q-tip to put the alcohol on, another to kind of rub this stuff off. And really what we're doing is just getting the worst of it off here. We're not going to get this like perfectly clean, but we're going to get as much of that glue off that we possibly can get off. So. Okay guys, so now what we're going to do is we're going to actually, we've got this all cleaned up as I mentioned before. We're now going to work on gluing this down, and as I mentioned, you do the inner ring first, and you glue the inner ring in first, you let that set up and dry, and then you go and you do the outer ring secondarily. So that's what we're going to do. Now the thing about it, if you notice with this, because it's such a small speaker, it's got such a small amount of overlap. I'm guessing that is maybe 2, maybe 3 millimeters. I think it's probably like 2.5 millimeters or something. So it's really precise. Not a lot of overlap where it overlaps onto the polypropylene cone, as opposed to a much larger speaker like this, where you can, I think you can see this, where you've got probably a 1/4 inch of overlap. So you got lots of room to maneuver there. So, you know, what we need to do is get this on with the glue, and you can imagine we've got the glue on here. We want to drop that on absolutely precisely, and I don't want to get it wrong. You can see even me doing it dry, it's a little bit, you can see it moving around. So what I'm going to do is I am going to mark out the perimeter edges of where I want my gasket to line up with a little bit of masking tape. So again, I'm not taping this thing down. I'm just saying, okay, that's where the leading edge here needs to go against the masking tape to sit perfectly. Okay, now I'm going to do that in a couple of different places. I think I'm going to do it in 3 places. So I'm just going to get that, make sure that I've got this on there exactly where I'm going to want it to land. Okay. Now you wouldn't have to use masking tape for this. You could maybe get away with a Sharpie, although it's black here, so black on black might not be that good. I mean, you could maybe use a paint pen, or I'm sure you do other things. But the idea is to give yourself a fighting chance of getting this thing down in one shot. And actually, as I see I'm doing that, I see my hands are kind of, because I'm holding it this way, my hands are a little bit obscuring this one. So you know what, I think top and bottom might be the right way to go here. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Not too bad. I mean, it's more accurate than I would get it if I didn't do this. Let's just put it that way. Alrighty. Okay, so we're going to grab our glue. Now, the glue came in a little package here. It says rubber adhesive, and they've given us a little brush, which frankly, for this incredibly small unit, I think is way too big a brush. So we are going to take that apart, and then we're going to get some glue on it, and that'll be the next step. Alrighty, okay, so we're going to start the gluing process. This is now going to turn into a little bit of a crafting exercise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the glue, I'm going to put a little bit in this Dixie cup, but this Dixie cup's pretty deep, so I'm actually going to cut this Dixie cup down a little bit here. It's just so that it gives me a little bit of a disposable container for the glue that's not so tall. Okay, and we got that done. Now what we're going to do is, and you can see I went and I went out to my, my stash of stuff, and I found a very small artist brush. It's almost a shame to use this because this is actually a proper artist's brush, but I think it's going to be just perfect in terms of the size for this exercise. As you can see, I'm going to be able to get in there just accurately with this, okay? One of the things I'm going to have to be careful with, I contemplated putting on gloves, but I got to be careful I don't get glue on my hands too much with this. The other thing you'll notice that I did is I did put some paper towel down here and some masking tape, because I thought about different areas of where to do this gluing bit, and you know what? I think it's actually easier right on top of the speaker here. So that's what we are doing. Okay, so yeah, so let's grab our glue. Yeah, let's go and put a little bit of glue. I'll put the glue over here. Okay. All right. Squeeze some into there. It's like way more than we're going to ever need. Okay, and we'll just start the process. See how this goes. Now, if it doesn't turn out that this is going to work right, then I will switch gears. Okay, but we're going to give this a go. And I'll probably fast forward through this because, you know what, this is going to take me a little bit of time to, get all this glue on here. So the good news here with this process is that I've not made a big mess. That other brush that came with the kit would have been perfect for a big speaker like this one, but for this tiny thing, yeah, not absolutely ideal. So now we're going to move towards that precision bit, which is dropping this on. Okay, so we've got that whole, you can see that whole leading edge is nicely glued up. Okay, and now we're going to holding the outside edges very carefully, drop it where we want it. I'm going to line it up very carefully with the masking tape guides that I have sitting there. Okay, good. That is good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to just grab something. I'm going to grab the end of a Q-tip here, but you could use whatever you want, the end of a pencil perhaps, anything you want, and just push those edges down all the way around the gasket, the foam onto the polypropylene cone. Get that on there nice and good. Okay. Make sure that it's sticking down. Now what can happen, I know this from refoaming other larger speakers, I'm not sure it's going to happen on this one, but the foam is a little weird, and when you get glue on it, it can have a tendency to want to curl up a little bit on the edges. So don't worry about that. It's just as it's drying, you may see some of it lifting up. So you want to be, it only takes a few minutes, but you want to be kind of staying here and looking at it and making sure that, it is staying pressed down onto the polypropylene cone. If it raises up, don't freak out. It's totally okay. As the glue dries, it'll become sticky and it will stick down. So the key is to keep doing that until it's nice and firmly down. And this already is looking really good. This is looking really good. Now, of course, I've got two speakers. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other speaker, and then we'll come back to this one. And so I'm only going to show you one speaker for obvious reasons. You don't really want to watch this whole thing twice, but just so you know, I am doing it twice, right? Makes sense? So yeah, so that's basically it. I think if I was giving any guidance, to be honest with you, if I had one at hand, I'd probably use it. I think probably something other than a cut off end of a Q-tip is probably a good way to go. Uh, this is all ideal, but it's got a little bit of a sharp edge there, so I'm having to be careful with it. Something like a pencil or something else might be the end of a pencil, like the eraser end of a pencil, something like that might be good. I think that's good. I think that's good. Now, of course, this is only half of the gluing process. We're going to have to get under here. When this is dry, we're going to have to get under here and dry this, all of the leading edge underneath here, right? And this is how we're going to do it. We're going to get our little brush. In fact, I may hold it up with something like this. You can get our little brush and put some glue under that'll hold that down. But for now, we're just going to let this dry and set up. We don't want to be doing that job until the inner ring is nice and dry. Okay, I'm going to do the next speaker and then let this one dry, and then we're going to come back and do that outer edge. Okay guys, so it's now been about 45 minutes or thereabouts, and what we're going to do now is we're going to actually go and put glue all the way around the perimeter here. And what we're going to do with that is when we're putting the glue on, I'm going to lift it up, well, again with my Q-tip. You could use whatever you want, a pen or something else. And you want to get the glue on the frame, okay? On the frame is what we're aiming for as we do that. You don't, it's, for whatever reason, it's probably better to do it on the frame than it is on this. You'll actually be able to see better that you've actually got the glue on the frame rather than on this underside lip, which might be hit or miss. You might miss a little section, where on the frame you're going to be seeing exactly what you're doing. So again, I've got my glue, I've got my little paintbrush here, and we're just going to start the process. So maybe I'll start back here. Should I do that? Let's start back here. Okay. Go. So we're just going to continue along here and just make sure that we get it underneath this the whole way. Okay, so we now have it all the way around the perimeter. I'm going to get rid of my glue, get rid of my brush. Okay, actually, you know what? I'm going to grab that brush back, because one of the things I found actually is, when I wasn't filming, is actually the back side of this artist brush is like the perfect thing. It's perfectly smooth and perfectly rounded, and so it's ideal for pressing this down. So what you want to do is make sure your hands are nice and clean. Okay, you don't have glue on them or anything else. We want to give this cone a little bit of a push, centering it. Now with this very, very tiny speaker, it doesn't have a lot of opportunity to go back and forth. It's much more critical with a bigger speaker like the woofer that you could have a problem here. But with the mid-range here, I'm pretty confident it's going to be settled where it needs to be anyways. And then now that you've done that, you just want to press this along. Don't rub at this point, because if you rub, you could pull the whole thing askew, right? If that makes sense. So just tap it all down. Oh, it must have been a little bit of glue there because that got sticky. Okay. Just tap it down. And as the glue hardens up, then you can kind of run it around the perimeter once it's starting to harden up a little bit. But for now, we don't want to, yeah, it's definitely sticky there, so try to be a little bit more careful. Yeah, there's a bit of glue overlapping there. That's okay. Yeah, you can see the process there, right? So now that we've got that, so it's still wet, right? It's still wet. So now we're going to flex the speaker again, ever so slightly, just to make sure she's bang on centered. Okay? Make sure she's bang on centered. It'll center itself at the moment because the glue is a little bit wet yet, right? So it hasn't set up. So this is why you want to just flex it or a little bit now. This is already looking really good. In fact, boy, that one section, got to be careful. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm at the stage where less is more. You just want to leave this alone and let nature take its course here. So what I'm going to do is I'll be coming back every couple of minutes for the next 10 or so minutes, 10 or 15. That's about how long it takes for the glue to kind of, it takes overnight to fully cure, but to basically be really, really, basically securing it takes about 15 minutes thereabouts. Depends obviously how much glue you got and yada yada, but that's about it. So, and as I mentioned, you may see some curling. In fact, I think you can kind of spot a little bit of curling over here. That's normal. And when that happens, you just push her back down. So don't worry about that if that happens. Doesn't matter. Just make sure that you're coming back and securing it down. So that's looking really, really good. So after we get all that done, then we're going to be taking our gasket, which we carefully, took off, and we're putting that down on top as well to even further secure that perimeter, right? So yeah, so that'll be the next step. So we're going to let that sit a little bit. I'm going to go and do exactly the same thing on the other speaker, and then we'll come back and we will do that bit. So that's the next step. Hey guys, just one more thing. I'm doing the other speaker here, and I just wanted to say that, you know what, I found a skewer. Don't tell the wife, but anyways, I found a skewer, and it works a lot better for actually raising this edge up. Okay, so as you know, I was using a Q-tip, a cut-off Q-tip, but it's kind of thick for this process, but this works really great for lifting this up. I'm just about finished gluing this one now, but just thought I would share this little tip for lifting this up. The skewer just works way better in getting underneath there and lifting this up out of the way. Alrighty, okay, well it's been about 45 minutes, so this thing is dried right up. This is all, well, dried right up. It's going to take about 24 hours to cure, but it's all good, totally, not sticky to the touch or anything else. It's all stuck down really well. When we test the cone, we can hear no scratching or issues, so I'm very confident we've got that in good shape. So now it's just a minor thing now, but we just now need to go and glue our cover back on here. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to screw the thing down. So that's the next step here now. So let's get after it. Okay, and you'll notice, or I don't know if the camera picks this up, but I do have the screw holes centered, and I know that this is in the position that I want it to be in. So we are now just going to flip this over, line up our cutouts for the screw holes. I see the little hanger on there that we don't want. And we're going to place it down. Fairly simple. Okay. All right. Okay, that's good on that one. That's good. Now the only thing left to do now, just like we did with the foam, we're going to come back and push this down more. Okay, over the course of the next 10 or 15 minutes. Not anywhere near as critical. Obviously, this is just it is what it is. I don't have to really describe it. But again, you can have the same issue of these things wanting to curl up or whatnot as they're drying. So you just want to make sure that if that happens, you push it back down. That's essentially it. The last step, of course, is just to button it up. So, yeah, so I'm going to just get after this, button it up, and then we'll be good. I think what I'm going to do now, because you don't really need to see me put in 3 screws, do you, with screws? I don't think so. So what I'm going to do now is pause the video here, and I'm going to let this dry overnight. And then what we're going to do tomorrow, after it's dried, has dried for at least 24 hours, we're going to then hook these things up and see how they sound. So I think that'll be the last part of the video. So anyways, guys, thanks for sticking with me so far. Really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to tomorrow to go and see how this all sounds. Okay, guys. Well, you know what? It's the next day, and the speakers have completely dried. So those mid-ranges that we refoamed are all dried up, ready to go, and ready to test. So what we're going to do is we are going to actually go and replace the speakers at the back there. Okay, the speakers at the back with these ones. And then we're going to go and hook them up and see how they sound. Now, obviously on YouTube, it's going to be a little hard for you guys to tell. And I'm going to have to use some non-copyrighted music to try them out. But I want to show you that they work. So we're going to hook them up and see how they sound. So you know what? That's going to be the next step. Just before I do that, let me just take a look at, show you both of the mid-ranges here. So see how they look. So that's our finished product there, and you can see it's looking pretty darn good. And we'll come over and take a look at this one here, and yeah, I think they look quite all right. So yeah, so we're gonna go and put some power to them, and hey, let's crack on. Let's see what happens. Okay, guys. Well, you know what? We have we have got the speakers all hooked up. We've got the other ones that were sitting there removed. And yeah, now we're going to give her a go. So yeah, let's play some music. Okay, guys, well, you know what? That's the end of the video. I'm sorry that I can't, really show you how these speakers perform, because I can only use non-copyrighted music, but you get the idea. They work really great. I have to tell you, I don't know if it comes across in the video, but they sound amazing, absolutely amazing. So I'm really, really super happy with how that job went, and I'm going to be looking forward to enjoying these speakers for many, many years to come. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for, if you've watched this far, thank you so much for watching the video, and please leave a comment. Let me know what I was doing right or wrong, because I'm always trying to learn stuff. I love all the comments, so yeah, so bring them on, and I reply to every comment as well. Please also subscribe. I could really use some more subscribers. Anyways, guys, I hope you're having an awesome day, and yeah, we'll see you on the next one.